but explain, like, as a thesis for this episode, what does the death of the underdog mean exactly?
I just think so. I mean, PASPA, May 14th, 2018. Since that moment, I think we've seen a little bit of a shift, and I tried to do it in three simple bullets.
Give us the three best examples. Start with number one.
Okay, so system one is simply just bad underdogs off of a bad loss. And I think when going through all three of these are just normal situations that most bettors historically have just kind of looked for. Do they blindly bet them? Of course not. But usually over time, they end up turning an ROI. And historically, yes, but recently, no. So let me start here. Bad dogs off of a bad loss. So this is team with a win percentage under 40%, coming off a loss of 20 plus points. Pretty simple. So since 2003, and that is, I'm going to use that number, that year a lot. That is the Bet Labs database in its entirety. So since 2003, betting those spots has a positive ROI of just under 7%, blanket. But last two seasons, 21, 24, and 1 ATS, negative 10.3% ROI. It is the worst 2-year stretch that we've tracked in that span. So works long term, hasn't worked recently. So let me just keep rolling here because I'll do two more and then we can kind of react.
Well, I don't want to. I don't.
You want to react? You want to go?
I don't think I can hold my tongue.
Okay, go it.
So that's fucking insane because that's like that is the A1 example that anybody who has done this for any length of time looks at. Give me the bad team coming off a bad loss. It's going to be a great discount on
Getting a
their
free
next
field
week's
goal.
price.
Yeah, getting a free 3 points.
Yes. Like that has been a money maker. To Evan's point, 7% over the past 20 plus seasons, but negative 10% ROI the past 2 years. Simon, did you realize it was that steep of a drop off?
I knew just because early in the year, I remember at one point, Chad, we were like 1 to 25 betting dogs.
Yeah, I
And
remember going through it in the show.
right. And you went through and I did as well. And like looking at the dogs we were taking, that really honestly saved me a ton of money going forward last season because it wasn't like there was a bunch of lines. Like even the Panthers, eventually we swore them off. And we had a nice break where it was like, I don't care they're giving us 4 points here that they shouldn't be giving us, that, you know, the Panthers are just getting that bump. And what Evan here is talking about is really alarming because it just factors into these last two seasons how bad the quarterback play has been to me on these really bad teams. And I think that's a lot what I've dove into this season. Off season is just the really poor quarterback play and the shortened fields and how much it really is that simple when you dive into it, how big of a key it is where these teams have confidence in their quarterback to go for it on 4th and 2, 4th and 3. And there's other teams who just simply punt it on 4th and 3, 4th and 2. So what Evan here is really making that stand out where it's like, you know, some of these teams usually coming off a bad loss, the team rallies the next game. And I feel like that's what Evan's talking about, historical data. The last 2 years, I mean, these teams just lay down and die. And like, that's the craziest part. It's like you're getting these free points and it's not mattering. And the books, feels like what Evan's saying here is the books are getting caught laying these really bad numbers and the public's taking advantage of it.
Is 2 years enough of a sample size?
Oh, I don't think so. I mean, I think we've built these systems, models, like different things that trigger points, let's call them for you, Chad, just to kind of like look at to start the season. I think we're in wait and see mode. Like if this system, which is 7%, starts off, 2 and 8, I think we might have an understanding of something coming up, but I think this is a very critical year to kind of seeing what these rule changes and even some of these bad quarterback play, which I think Simon nailed it, what that impact has. And I think one other thing that's important here, these are all based off the closing lines. So like in this type of system where you're talking about a bad dog off a bad loss, like you're assuming that line's going to close higher than it opened because everyone's going to want the other team. So, these teams losing in that sense, where you're talking about the closing line, which is probably a better line, is also pretty shocking to me, to be honest.
And
Right.
Chad, it feels like Evan here is talking about how it's not enough data yet, but it's also he's telling people that you just can't keep doing it the same old way. There could be something happening here that you need to pay attention to, and that he's diving into numbers here, and that's what I find so interesting about it. Where it's like there's always times too with if I have a number on a dog that I like and the luck rankings back it up because it's a team that's been unlucky catching a big number. We always talk, Chad. I blindly bet those numbers. Now I am going to take a second and think about the quarterback matchup, the coaching style, and little things that I would never when I'm in a certain situation where I just blindly bet a big dog. So what Evan's saying here, I am going to take into account because that is pretty alarming data that it's changed that much, and it's really coinciding with a lot of these rule changes the NFL has been doing these last couple seasons.
All right, Evan, number 2.
Okay, so this is fading the bounce back. Bad team versus good team who is off of a big loss. So again, team with a win percentage under 40%, playing a team with a 60% win percentage, coming off a loss of 2 touchdowns or more. So basically, you're fading the inevitable bounce back, which most people would normally try to buy into. So since 2003, betting these spots, positive ROI of just over 6%. So relatively similar to the one we just talked about, which was about 7%. Now, last 4 seasons in this spot, 20 and 25 against the spread, a negative 14.7 ROI, also the worst stretch in the last 22, 23 years. So again, kind of talking about a very similar scenario where, I mean, that bad team, which you would look at probably getting a larger number on the close versus the open, still not covering that number nearly at all. And last 4 seasons, even bigger sample. So you're kind of eating into that PASPA era as well.
Yeah, that's fascinating because that's another one that has almost been an autoplay for years, right? Like you immediately like identify that, and because we think we're smarter than the average Joe, we would bet that because the Joe is going to come in and bet the favorite no matter what. And now all of a sudden, and it's not just 2 years, 4 years. That's like almost insidious, if you're not paying enough attention and you keep doing it, not really realizing that it's been eating away over a longer period of time. That's a scary one.
I feel like
Simon.
we're hitting, I was just gonna say, I think we're hitting a curve here. Like it's almost like we're trying to figure out if these are going to extend or if there's going to be some sort of like buyback in the market to the mean where we kind of go back to what we were. I don't know if that's going to happen. So Simon, what's your
That's
thought
what
there?
Evan's making me want to hibernate. I want to disappear now for like 3 years, and I'll come back and just time the market right and just be rolling in all these dogs. Because, like Evan's saying here, it's going to hit a breaking point, right? The books, they got the same numbers, they have the same data. They will eventually adjust. Their models will adjust. But I keep telling Chad, we're in a weird time period where this switch up is happening with the favorites, and we're breaking into AI models, which is a whole nother conversation. But we're in a really weird period here of like, okay, favorites are doing really well. The public is, obviously doing really well. The books are trying to go against it, but the books are spending an absurd amount of money right now trying to get ahead of AI models, especially in the sports betting world. So it's a very unique time period in sports betting where a lot of moving parts are happening. Evan here is just making me even doubt my model even more because it's like what Evan's saying here is like I keep thinking I'm getting free points and I'm not. They're kind of suckering us in, and it's been that way the last couple of years. And I definitely have not taken position on certain spots, right? Bounce back spots, quote unquote. But there are certain teams that it's like, okay, if Lamar has a bad loss and he's in a bounce back spot and you're getting the rare opportunity of him as a dog, those are like, okay, that's a smash spot. That's a spot you really want to lean into, despite if your numbers are against it. You want to do what Evan's talking about here, which is like you throw all the data out and you just historical data tells you good quarterback, good team after a bad loss, you expect them to bounce back. Bad quarterback on a bad team, Evan's telling you, they're not bouncing back right now. So that's something I'll have to check on me and Chad during the regular season. Just keep in the back of our mind where it's like you can't just blindly bet these bad quarterbacks, man. They're just not doing it. Whatever's going on in college, the next step to the NFL is not translating like it was in the 2010s, clearly.
Yeah, it's I feel like there's been a beacon that has been buried in the dirt and somehow we've been missing it and playing by the old rules, and it's slowly been changing. And last year, maybe all 3 of them, including the next one Evan is going to talk about, of these sort of classic underdog play spots all converged to conspire against us. And that's made us unpack everything in an entirely different way. Whereas, like, maybe there's been spots where one or two of them, but not on a consecutive week. So it made us keep thinking. And last year, it just felt like every single week, and it's made it look at these now. Okay,
But this is
Evan.
good for you. This is good for us in a lot of ways, Shaq, because it does make you look at yourself and your models and all different things in a different perspective. And like I'll never forget that year the Eagles won that Super Bowl with Doug Peterson and the RPOs. That really messed with my model with a lot of offenses that were just super simple and basic, but the RPO was really working really well and they brought it into the league. And the same thing with a couple of teams in that year started going for it more often on fourth down. So it's like, you're always adjusting. What we're talking about here is like, I don't want to over adjust. Like you're saying, we don't want to over adjust because of these last couple of years and these anomalies. But like you're saying, we need to really take into account here that these dogs just ain't hitting like they used to. And there's a bigger point here that we need to dive into, that we can't just say, well, it'll come back around. It's like, well, maybe it won't. This could be a big change in the NFL and we need to adjust to it. So yeah, I'm really glad we're doing this because it's something I've already dived into a little bit, but hearing these raw numbers from Evan, it's pretty alarming.
Yeah, it's the clarity is pretty astonishing. All right, Evan, what's number 3?
Yeah, Death of the Underdog, I feel like almost is just a tale of caution at the moment. But yeah, here's system 3. So, and this is almost as much of a staple as the first one. It's basically just betting good teams off of huge losses. So we just talked about the bad team and good team. Forget all that. This is just team with a win percentage over 60% coming off a loss of 20 plus points, which is basically doesn't happen a ton, but this is, the bounce back spot, the classic. So since 2003, betting these spots has a positive ROI of just under 16%. And since 2020, it is 13 and 16 ATS, and it was 0 and 4 ATS last season. So a literal reversal of fortune. And I think this is literally the worst teams in the NFL, basically on the other side of this potentially, and you wanting to back them. And I think you're kind of hitting a bit of a brick wall. But the 13 and 16 since 2020, when you have a 16% ROI since 2003, and that 16% still now including that 13 and 16, just to show how great it was beforehand. It's just a change of times. It's crazy.
That is a crazy number. Like the sample size obviously isn't that big.
Yeah.
29 games, just not that big. It's not a big enough number to make you want to change how you think about these things philosophically. But 0 and 4 last year, like Simon, I guarantee we went 0 and 4 on those bets, right? Like we can go back and look, but like I feel like we are seeing all of the losses that we had last year just from these 3 systems that Evan is talking about.
Definitely a Carolina loss, but I told you, like I went back through and I still can't believe how we avoided Tennessee. Like it feels like a couple of those too is the Tennessee games. But yeah, that's astonishing though. I mean, is that the first time, Evan, you could find the historical data that there was a year that it just simply went 0 and 4 or 0 and 5?
I could check, but there's just no chance you had that type of percentage year to year and you would have no ATS wins. So I'm pretty sure it is the first, at least in that spot. I think the scary thing is if I took that 60%, so teams with a win percentage over 60%, and instead of a 20-point loss, I took it down to 14, or I took it to 9, which was like more than one possession, I think you'd see similar data. In terms of just the evening out of the numbers and it not being so easy to back those teams. So I just think there's more into the handicap than maybe there was a little while ago.